Hey everyone. So today is just kind of an idea, uh, just a way that we can have different things coming off the edge of our seam or off our binding, our spine that, because like on Hayden's journal that I made, I wanted to use this thicker string as opposed to wax thread, which is, very thin, and that's what it's meant to do, where it doesn't tear your paper and all the things. And I wish I thought I had not found this one yet, but I already did. And it's working okay, but the more he uses it, because I chose to use that thicker string, I'm afraid that it's going to start tearing his papers in here. And I was thinking about that the other day. I thought, how can I use the thicker strings on the outside? See, this one's already tearing a little bit. When I want it to show on the spine, but I don't want it to tear my paper. So I started messing around with some ways. And this is something I think I'm going to try. I'm going to use to show you what I'm talking about, because I think this is neat looking, and I could see hanging beads on this, or, but of course I wouldn't want to run this through my paper because it would make it have, I think, too big of a hole. So what I thought about doing on this one, I did the same thing. I used that thicker thread when I bound it. This is just a little notebook that's a 6x6, has a pocket here. Nothing fancy. But it has, see that string, and I only did a 2-hole, hoping that it won't tear my paper. And so far it looks really good. I actually think, here's another pocket in the back. I actually think I might give this one away at the live sale on Friday, because, not because of how it's made, but because I do love this paper though. This is I always called it the elementary school paper, and I tea-dyed it, and it has such a great sound and texture, and it just, look how easy it decals. You can decal the edges. But I think I might give away give this away on my Friday live, because it turned out way prettier. You know, it was a lot of pinks, and although I think they're beautiful, and I love seeing people make things with these colors, and they always make them so pretty, it's just really not my thing. And I like my stuff to look a little bit grungier. And I was making this because I have a book that I take with me to auction houses and such, that I can write in and write down things that I find is interesting or whatever. It has a little key on it. But this is just really too cutesy for me. So I tried it another way. I did it. Now this one, I did use that string, but I did not bind my papers. I used wax thread to bind my papers, where it has the very small hole. And so if you wanted, you could leave strong, long threads here and have beads hanging out the bottom, and you could do beads off this. You could have all kinds of, and I'm probably going to, and I'm actually probably going to put something on this elastic piece that holds it shut, because I just like stuff hanging. I like the sound that it gives. But isn't this the coolest paper? This tea-dyed, oh, look at it. Isn't it fun? And I've been hoarding this, so I've been making books out of it. And I think I'm probably going to have some of it at the live sale on Friday if anybody's interested. And also, like I say, I may give for sure the other one away. This might be the one I keep and write in. And then like this one, see, I put really thick eyelet lace, but I didn't run it through my papers. I ran the wax through my papers, and then just, there's your lace. And I did put a piece of fabric on this one, so that, because this is just scrapbook paper, so this wouldn't tear or anything, I kind of secured it with some fabric there. But this one's just another one that has I made these just for writing, not for, you know, you can certainly put pockets or whatever in there. I haven't even put closure on this one yet. I was just making them to see, test out if I liked how to do this. And yes, you can always put, you know, fabric on the outside. But again, I was doing it because I wanted to use something thicker and not tear my paper. And so this is just, like I said, an idea of how to do that and keep your paper using the wax thread. And I'm going to use some more out of this 6x6 page just because, or paper, just because it is pretty. And I just need something really quick to show you how I bound it together. See if that looks pretty. I don't know if it will look that great. It's so much pink. I'm not a real good pink person, so let's do these two pinks instead. I had in my mind that if I put something grungy on the spine, it would make me feel better and I'd want to use it, but this is just too pinky and too pretty, I think, for me, so I'm not going to use it. But I'm going to cut these, and this is just these are just 6x6 papers. I'm just cutting that little tab at the top, you know, that they do to hang it. So now they're 6x6. And I'm not teaching you how to make this journal because it's not difficult. Probably figured it out, me just showing it to you. So on the front flap, I'm going to do, on the front cover piece, I'm going to mark it at, I think I ended up doing 1 1/8. We'll do it that way. And I'm just going to fold it. And then on my back piece, you want to turn it, let's see. No, I want the front of it to be 1 1/8 as well. That's right. I'll mark them both at 1 1/8. So now I'm just going to fit them in there like this. There's my flap, and this wraps around the back. So I've just slid them in like that, and I will glue this, and our cover's done. And of course, like I said, it's just scrapbook paper, so because I want to run through a stronger, thicker piece of paper through the spine, and I don't want it to tear my scrapbook paper, I'm going to round these. I'm going to put fabric on the inside. So I'm just going to round corners, make it and ink it up. I'm not going to keep this one, it's too pink, but if I give it away, maybe I'll give this one away on Friday as well. I would like for somebody to think, you know, hey, that's cute. And, you know, like it just this way. But after I ink it up, I will come back and show you how I did that spine. Okay, we're back. Here's our cover. I haven't done anything to it. I haven't embellished it. Just tore some regular tea-dyed papers to go inside of it. I did kind of give them a deckled edge, and they'll go in like this. But before we bind those, what I did, I took a piece of just, this is, I don't know, some kind of linen that I rust dyed. And I'm going to put it right over the spine so that it gives your paper a little bit more sturdiness, since we're going to poke a bigger hole through it. I do think this is necessary because this is just scrapbook paper, and it's not really, I think, supposed to have, you know, that big of a fiber going through it that it won't tear. Try to get that fairly even so that when I close it, yeah, that's good. I'm going to cut this off just a smidge. I like it hanging out from underneath, but not a whole lot. I like them to look somewhat okay. And I tell you what I did on one of these. I stamped this fabric where it would look like this one. I did some stamping on the fabric just to give it a, so many things you can do with these little 6x6 papers to make a really cool journal. I'm just doing a really quick one so that we can see how to bind that in here. So then what I did, and I think I want to use this, which this is part of that rust dyed piece too. Probably be best to let this dry so that your paper's not wet when we're punching a hole through. But because, you know, for the time sake of this video, I'm going to go ahead and do it. But so something to keep in mind is that when you're doing this, we're going to run our normal thread, our wax thread that we're going to bind our papers with, also through the spine. So keep in mind that you want the thicker to show, put it closer to the edge. Like this one, my holes for it were closer to the edge. My holes for my signature, you can tell, are further down. So I'm going to poke those holes fairly close to the edge, or wherever you want, you know, because I was thinking I would have some hanging from the spine, from the top. So I'm going to punch a hole at the top and pretty close to the bottom. And then I'm just going to, and this is pretty thick. So what I had to do on my other one was I just took a really tiny hole punch and punched where I made that hole with the needle. And then I just threaded my little string through there. On one of them, I did have to use some tweezers to just kind of push it through. I'll probably do that on this one. And then just pull it through. Do the same thing on the bottom. Now you see what it looks like on the inside. So you kind of have a spine down through here. I left the bottom one longer because I knew that I was going to bring it up and tie it at the top. So for now, I'm just going to leave them like they are. I'm not going to tie them together or anything like that. Now I'm going to get my signature, my little papers here. And I always like to have my papers sticking out from my book a little bit. No real reason other than I just like the look of it. So that's how I'm going to do that. Now, if this piece that you made is really thick, you'll want to center it where, you know, part of it's on this side and this side. This is just right for me to set right in there. And it's going to look just perfect, I feel. So I'm just putting that where I want it, making sure that my piece I have done before is, and actually what I might do is I might just pull this out a little bit so that when I make my holes, I don't go through this and I can move it around on the outside. If you go through it, then it's stuck, meaning you can't make one end, you know, shorter, longer, whatever. So I think I'm just going to pin it right here and then poke my holes for the signature. And when I do this, I'm trying to make sure I go on the inside. Actually, I might take that one off. On the inside of where my other holes are. So I'm just kind of trying to make sure I'm on the inside of it. And it looks like I should be here. So there's one hole. And here's my second one. And you always want to close your flap when you're going through so that it will end up right on the spine and not one side or the other. If you have it open a little bit, you probably already know all this, but I'm going to take my wax thread. I don't need a very long piece because I'm not leaving it to hang long for beads. I'm going to do it twice the length of my book. Usually I leave it on there until I have it threaded. That way I for sure don't waste any, but this time I kind of have an idea of how long it's going to be because I've done this same size book several times now. Trying to find the one with the smallest eye hole on it. And look, it just fell out. That would be it. We'll use that one. I like this idea because you can use, you know, all kinds of different fabrics to hang your beads from the outside or just for decoration on the outside. So this time, instead of leaving my strings on the outside, I'm going to start on the inside and bring it back around to tie it on the inside. And I'm only doing a 2-hole versus a 3-hole pamphlet stitch, just because this book isn't very, I don't have a lot of pages in it, and this makes it easier, but you certainly could still do the 3-hole pamphlet stitch underneath like we're doing right now. All right. So now I'm just going to tie the knot on the inside like we would normally do. Don't have to tie it real tight because we don't want to tear our paper. You want it tight, but not super tight. You can double knot it if you want to. I've just been doing a single. Maybe I'll do a double on this one. I don't really think it needs it with that wax thread, but there we go. And I've cut those off. And our signature is bound. And we can see it here on the outside. And now we just tie this over the top of that. And if you don't want it to show at all, you can always just put a little bead of glue down there, which I did on one of them, to make it stay in place. So now you have your pretty spine with the thicker threads on the outside, and you have your pages with the very small holes and then the thinner thread on the inside. And then this is what it looks like. I haven't pulled it tight yet, so let me do that. But see, you can still move it because we didn't go through it on the inside. And I just kind of take my fingernail and put it underneath there. So part of it lays on this side and part of it on the other. I think that looks nice. And then you can tie this at the top or however you want to do it. I'm just probably going to tie a little knot and then I'll decorate it later. I'm going to hold that closed while I'm doing it because it keeps falling open. It's starting to get on my nerves. Okay, so here we go. And I usually don't tie a bow because, I don't know, I usually just tie a knot, but you could do a bow, whatever you want up here. I'm not even good. Look, I can't even get my knot to lay straight. Okay, there we go. So now you have this on the outside, which I think looks great. And like I said, you can always, and I'm going to do that, glue this to our little string. I'm going to just run a little dab a bead of glue right down that spine where my thread is. And then just put my outside right on the top of it like that. See, and you can't, it doesn't, there's no way, you don't even see that there's two bindings, kind of. One binding for your cover and then one binding for your papers. I guess that's how, basically, what I did, isn't it? I gave it two bindings. But I think that looks neat. And then I have my thicker thread on the outside, which is what I wanted. And I don't have to worry about my papers tearing. I don't know. What do you think? This is a big waste of time? Or do you think that's a good idea if that's something that you have in your mind? You want to have the thicker binding. And I know you could always glue it or whatever. But I thought that this way it actually became part of the book and kind of gave the impression that this was the binding itself when... You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I just thought it was a different way, not the only way, a different way to do that if you wanted a thicker string or whatever to be hanging on the outside of your journal instead of the wax thread. I like using the wax thread to bind my papers because it's, you know, it doesn't pull as much. It's very thin. It's easy to get in and out of your paper. I like it that way. What do you think? Is this something you would do, or do you think, wow, that was a big waste of my time? I hope you like it. I hope you like these papers. This was not the elementary paper. This was the elementary paper. Oh, love this paper. But I think I'm going to have some of that paper this Friday. Ooh, and the Mad Hatter is selling with me on Friday, and which is Maddie's Paper Dolls. I will link her channel below. And she usually does a pre-sale video. She might, I don't think she's done one yet, but knowing her, there will be one. And this was just a way to show you how maybe you could have a thicker spine without an actual dangle. I mean, like I say, it's actually part of your book now, without doing like I did on this one, and it might potentially tear my papers. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I hope this was an idea that you might like, and we'll try, and give me any ideas how you think I could have done this better. Now, something like this I think might have been a little bit too thick. Had I, maybe not too thick as much as having this eyelet here. When it comes through, it twists, where if it was just fabric, it would lay thinner, lay nicer, I think, than something this thick. I think it might have been a little too thick. Let me know what your thoughts are about this. Thank you guys for watching. God bless, and I will see you next time. Bye.